Hello and welcome to another episode of Laptop Retrospective, and today I'm here with another Razer, and this one is the Razer Blade Stealth 2019, and this is the second that I've featured on the channel, and overall it's doing a little bit better than the last one, and if you're curious about that and the challenges I had with it, you'll see a video link up here. The Razer Blade Stealth 2019 is still a 13.3-inch display, and it comes in two main flavors, a 1920 by 1080 matte panel, which you see here, and it is worth noting that it is 100% sRGB. There's also a 4K variant, which is a 3840 by 2160, and that is a glossier touch panel. The CPU is an Intel 10th generation i7-1065G7, and there's 16 gigabytes of low-power DDR4 3733 megahertz RAM soldered to the board. You're not upgrading that, unfortunately. Many people will be interested to know that there is an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1650 4 gigabytes as well built in here. And when we open it up, you'll see how that's cooled, and it's actually pretty decent. A few other things to note is that there is a PCIe 3.0 compatible M.2 2280 drive slot on the inside, which can handle NVMe drives. This one's actually running one from Western Digital currently. There is one Thunderbolt 3 slot with 4 lanes, one USB Type-C 3.1 slot, which is Gen 2, two USB 3.0, and then a headphone microphone combo jack. Razer has also put their Razer Chroma keyboard on this, which means that you have RGB customizability, what I would describe in excess. A few other things to note is a Intel Wireless AX201 with Bluetooth 5.0 built in, and then up at the top we do have a 720p web camera with infrared Windows Hello compatible. All of this is being driven by a 53.1 watt-hour battery. And then we cannot forget about the rather beefy 100 watt power supply. So they really want to make sure that while you're gaming, your battery's not being drained. So now that we have that out of the way, let's talk about some of my frustrations with this machine. Because overall, it's actually pretty nice. The build quality is still pretty good, coated aluminum, and it looks great, it feels great, pretty sturdy, not a whole lot of flex beyond what you would expect. The Razer logo on the back is considerably subdued, which is a relief, because that means that this can just blend into more places without seeing overly gaudy. Now, to get this thing running, I did a fresh install of Windows 11, and the entire time that I was installing Windows 11, I didn't have a trackpad. It turns out that whatever trackpad driver is not being paired with Windows, so I couldn't actually get this thing working properly until I installed a very specific driver pack. Which leads me to my other concern, is that Windows did not automatically detect and install drivers for the trackpad, the wireless, the Bluetooth, the video card, and the list goes on and on. In fact, Device Manager is still full of things that I have to manually download individual drivers for, and this is the year 2022. It's a little bit disappointing for a laptop that retails for 2,400 Canadian dollars new, and about 1,600 used if you can find one, that so much is required in terms of loading software. And my gripes don't stop there, and it actually has to do with Razer's Synapse package as well as a few others. They require logins for no apparent reason. So if you don't like logging into things like the GeForce Experience app, well, it's pretty much that times 3, because you have several different applications that Razer puts out that if you want to take advantage of all the hardware, you're going to have to install, which is a bit of a nuisance. In fact, I would even call it bloatware, because a lot of these have ads for their own store and purchase programs and rewards things, and it's very cluttery, and it's a lot, and it's a bit disappointing for such a premium built device. Alright, so here's another level of irritation. If you install the THX spatial trial thing, it detects as another set of speakers, and if you don't know to go in to select the regular speakers, then you don't actually have sound at all, and you're going to spend like 10 minutes figuring out why your audio doesn't work like I did. One other thing I need to point out is that the keyboard is very low travel. In fact, it feels lower travel than my X1 Nano, and this shift button will annoy you. I guarantee you the first couple times you use this, you will be pressing the up arrow thinking that you're pressing the shift key. I was warned about that when I got it from the owner, and I figured I would be able to get through it, but it was pretty clear when I was entering login details, hitting the shift key for like @ and all those other special characters, it was driving me insane. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and do two things. First off, I'm going to quickly disassemble the unit and show you the insides. The other will be some gameplay footage of Metro Exodus, which actually on high settings runs at a pretty decent frame rate, on average of around 59 frames, I think is what the utility said. So I'm going to splice in those clips and then we'll talk about some conclusions. Disassembling this Razer is pretty much the same as the previous one I featured on the channel. It's Torx T5, and the screws are located all the way around the outside edge. And then with all of the screws removed, we can just simply reach in and begin to lift off the metal cover, very carefully going around the outside edge, looking for any clips or adhesive. And it looks like the thermal pads are located on this side. Once we remove it, we can see that the only two modules that are available for service are the 2280 SSD in here, and then of course the Wi-Fi module. Everything else is pretty much going to be soldered to the board and not serviceable. We can see that there is some very generously sized heat pipes, as well as dual fans exhausting out the rear of the device, which means that you're not going to get heat on either side if you are gaming, which is a good thing to see. There are a few pads here that look like they are creating essentially an air gap, not very much of an air gap, between the heat pipe and the bottom of the computer. And I suspect that this is to limit how toasty this could get if it was sitting on your lap, and to hopefully let the fans do their job. Of course, the intake is still happening from underneath the machine, so if you do not have this on a solid surface, then your cooling performance is going to be significantly impacted. All right, now that we have this thing all back together, let's go ahead and see how quickly we can get it to boot. As you can see, it still keeps those quick boot times that we saw in the previous version. And because this is 10th gen, of course, running Windows 11 on it is trivial. And speaking of running things on this trivially, let's take a look at Metro Exodus at, I gotta love branded bloatware. Anyway, let's take a look at Metro Exodus and see how it performs, and we'll draw some conclusions. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, it did pretty well gaming, and that's ultimately what you're probably buying this for. Now, you are paying a premium price tag for the Razer branding and, of course, the build quality, not to mention the specs. But a few things that you do need to take into account is that once your support runs out for these devices, parts other than getting them directly from Razer, as I mentioned in the previous video, is a bit of a gamble. So if you are ready to invest that kind of money, just be aware that there might be other options out there that will be a little bit more fiscally flexible than this particular unit, depending on whether or not you can find it on sale or used in good condition. I hope you've enjoyed this video taking a look at this. I think Razer will eventually get there, but to me there's still quite a few things that they need to get right if they want to move up from a boutique computer to kind of a mainstream contender. If you do have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. Maybe you have some experience with one of these yourself and would like to share a story or two, because I'd love to read those. And last but not least, I would encourage you to do the big four. It really helps support the channel. Please like the video, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so the next time I get to feature a gaming laptop like this, you'll be the first to know about it. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time.